Hi everyone, welcome back to my craft room, and we're going to do our second Mountain Air card today. I hope you're all doing well. I know I still miss you. It's a little longer. It's over 5.5 weeks since my husband and I have been in self-isolation, trying to be safe and social distance. So I am now on my second home haircut. Just did another one today. And also on my second manicure. I took everything off and did it. Then I cut all my nails and did them again just this morning. So it's been a while for me, not having the comforts of the services that we're typically used to, but I still have my craft supplies. I can still craft. So let's see what we're going to do today. So here's what we're going to do today. And I have to admit, I saw this online and I loved it. I pretty much totally copied it. I might have switched out some colors, but I pretty much copied everything about it. But that's what it's all about. Copy and share everything. Again, it has my purple mountains. We've got some dark black trees, die cuts in the forefront. So it's a little more complicated than yesterday's card. But again, we're going to be using the Mountain Air stamp set. And remember, these are reversible stamps. So we will be using both sides of these mountains today. And then we'll also be using, and it handily comes with 2 tree die cuts, which is exactly what I wanted for my card. And we'll be using this to cut the trees. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing we need is, well, let's just start with our little white focal piece. So we'll just start with our blank piece, and that's this piece right here. And the first thing I want to do is make sure I have the smooth side of my stamp. I don't want the detail yet. And I'm going to ink it up with Highland Heather. Get that one out of the way. Okay. And if you look at this, you'll see in the distance, I want my mountains to be a little lighter. So I'm going to shut that ink pad up because I know how I am. Yes, I'm going to use it again in a minute. So for this one, and you can see I've been working on this sheet for a little bit. I'm going to stamp off, and then I'm going to leave room for my sun and stamp the second time right here. And I'm going to make sure I apply some good even pressure. Give that ink some time to transfer because I don't have it full strength. I stamped off a good bit of the ink. And let's hope, cross all your fingers that we have a nice image. That's pretty good. That'll do for me. The next thing I want to do, though, is I want to give myself some sky. And I'm going to use one of my favorite techniques. I love the sponge brayer and the ink pad. Being careful not to get my fingers in the ink. And I'm just going to turn this sideways and start off the page and just start bringing down some sky. I don't need it too dark. I just want a little bit of color up there though. Okay. Just start bringing down a little bit of sky. Gently roll it on. I could have done this first, but I kind of wanted to know where my mountains was going to be. So that's one more little bit. Get the top. Notice I'm leaving a little bit of white space down there. All right, we'll close this one up and set that brayer aside. And I've still left room for my sun to go there. But now I need these mountains right here. So I'll set this aside, and I'll bring in a piece of paper that you can see I've already used and cut out the mountains. And I'm going to get my Highland Heather ink out again and ink up my stamp. I like to turn them over when they're this big and just tap them this way. Now this one I'm going to die cut, so that's why I'm just using a scrap piece of paper. So I'm just going to lay it down on here, press it down, give it a good bit of pressure. And remember, again, I'm on my foam mat because these are the photopolymer and because this is such a solid surface that I want a good stamped image. It doesn't have to be perfect, but that's pretty good. Now, what I would do, what you can do is you can put it on like this and die cut, since I don't need the whole image. I just need a 4-inch piece of it. So I can do that, and it would end up looking like this because it wouldn't hit exactly, it wouldn't match. Or, if many of you know me well enough, you know I'm obsessive compulsive. I can actually see through the paper. If I line it up to the light, I can see through the paper. So what I chose to do was put my die on like this, tape it down, and run it through, and I got pretty much an exact set of mountains here. So what I need to do with my mountains now, again, you can do it either way. You could trim this one down and it would be fine, but I'm a little more obsessive compulsive than that. So now I want to put my mountains on, and I want to offset them just a little bit. So that looks pretty good. So I can get my adhesive. And just put some liquid glue over that. My favorite adhesive is the liquid glue. And offset my mountains just a bit. And the reason I like the liquid glue is it lets me slide it around. And I knew I wasn't going to need it all, but I didn't know which portion I'd need. So I'll grab my scissors and just trim off the edges. And those are bits I don't need right now. Okay? And if you want, you can run a bone folder over it if you need to smooth down those die cut edges. I'm just running the top of my fingernail over it. Okay, so that we have started. And now we need our detailed mountains. So I'm just going to bring in another piece of, I can use another scrap piece of paper. I'm going to clean off my stamp, and I'm going to flip it over. Remember, these are reversible. Interesting concept. So flip it over, and then I'll take my soft suede and ink up the lined detail side of that stamp set. And I'll stamp it down. Remember, set it down, touch it everywhere, pick it straight up, and that's a pretty good image. And then again, I would take my mountains to my die cutting machine and cut that out, which I've already done. And now I just need to add it to the front. I just need to line it up wherever I want. Still wanting this to look like a mountain range. And then just putting some wet glue on there. Again, I like wet glue, it's my favorite. So, where did I want that? That looks nice. And just press it down. And again, turn it over. Cut off the piece you don't need. toss that aside. Okay, now I need my trees. So again, I'm just going to bring in another scrap piece of paper that I've been working with. And I'm going to grab my tree stamp, and this is the detailed side of it. I'm going to ink it up with some pretty peacock. I'm pretty fond of pretty peacock too. And then I'm just going to stamp it. I know I need a little bit of room at the bottom because I want that to extend like a field. But just stamp that down. Give it a minute to transfer the ink. And then pick it straight up. And that looks good. And then I would take my die, line it up over here, and take that to my die cutting machine. And I would get this. So then I would put this on my scene, and I've already trimmed this to where I wanted it to be. And I will again get my glue. Put that down. If you hadn't already trimmed it, you'd trim it after you put it down. And that's pretty much my scene, but I need my sunshine. So I will set that aside. Grab my sun stamp and my Mango Melody. I seem to be on a kick of doing the sun and the Mango Melody. There's lots of yellows you could do it in, but I like this color. Get a good image there. And this is where I wish I had that 1-inch punch, but I don't. So you get your handy dandy paper snips out and you fussy cut that. But I just happen to have done that ahead of time because you don't want to sit here and watch me fussy cut. And I am going to use a dimensional to pop that up. So get out my dimensionals. I do love some dimensionals. I like my sun to be right about there. And I've saved the birds till last because the last time I did this, I did the birds and then everything covered them. So I've saved the birds till last this time. And I'll get some Memento ink. Ink up my birds. And get them right side up. And put them wherever I want them. We won't have them flying too close to the sun. So, I'm happy with that. So, clean off my little stamp. And that's my front panel that I would just adhere to this black panel. And I'll have measurements listed for you if you're interested. Here to the black. And now let's start building our card. I have a card base here, and I have the pretty peacock mat. I have a little kit just like I would make for you if you were here. So I'll put my pretty peacock mat on my card base. And then I like this trim. It looked pretty, and it was in the card I was copying. So I'll just lay this down, and Most of it's not going to show, so I think I'll just use a strip of double stick tape because it's mostly not going to show. You can do it however you like. And notice I have just pull this apart a little bit to fray it, because when it comes more tightly woven like that. But I've just pulled it apart a little bit to fray the edges. Whatever you like. Okay, so let's just lay this across. Stick, stick. I know that's sticky tape. Okay, and then glue my decorative panel on top of it. And that'll help hold those edges a little bit. There we go. And then I used these dies and I cut out a couple of trees. And these are very detailed dies. You can see how detailed that is. Look at all those little tiny cuts. I did need to use a shim. I just used a piece of copy paper folded in quarters. I have no idea what this even is. I think it's some message from Stampin' Up. And I just folded it in quarters, and that's what I used on top of my second cutting plate to get this perfectly cut out. And then I really didn't have much poking to do at all. So I'm do the fine tip glue on the back of this one. So this might take a second. Okay, that ought to do it. Oh, I got glue on the front of it too, but it does dry clear, so yay for that. Okay, you see I'm still going to cover up my birds with my trees. Oh well, they fly behind the trees. I might have to hold that down a second. I do have a bit of glue squishing out. Okay, I need to get my second tree and start gluing on it. Just put it over here. Well, I'm going to drop it down a little so my birds show a little better. And I can trim that edge off. Still want to see some of my birds. I'm going to have to work on my bird placement, I can tell that. Just trim the edge off. And there's the outside of the card. Okay, for the inside, super simple. Just bring back in my tree stamp and a piece of white paper. And my pretty peacock ink. Let's see. I made a mess with my ink, but try not to make a mess on my paper. Pull that one away. Close up the pad before I make a mess. And grab my sunshine again. And put some sun up in the corner. Close the ink pad, wipe my fingers off, and let's just glue this to the mat. Okay, get your favorite ink out. glue that to your mat. Get your card. And make sure it's right side up. You know who I'm talking about. And there you go. That's my cased card. I saw that online and I loved it, and I still love it. I have several that I've made that are to be used for a tutorial next month. So I won't show them all to you over the coming days. I'll let you wait until next month to see some of them. But I have several more designs, and I hope to do another video so you can see what else we can do with this set. So that's our second card with the mountain air. So stay home, stay safe, and keep crafting. I hope you're making the best of it. I'm trying to get out and do some daily walks. It's a little colder than I like today, but I'm trying to get out and get some sunshine on the days that there is sunshine. But I'm going to try to bring you another card too. So drop me a note just to say hi. I miss you all. I hope you're doing well and hope to see you soon. Take care.